What's up, Uber Breakers? No Policies here, and today I'm going to be doing a new series on my channel known as Random Analysis Videos. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be generating one Pokemon, one for now, maybe like two later. I do tend to talk a lot, so we'll limit it to one. But what we're going to do is we're going to go and randomize a Pokemon from Ubers down to PU. Not going to do NFE or LC. Can be LC as well. But what we're going to do is we're going to generate a Pokemon, and whatever Pokemon comes up, I'm going to cut the video there and research this Pokemon if I don't already know what it is. If I know a lot about it, like say if I get Mega Man Electric, I think I'm going to be able to tell you guys something about it. I will still cut the video because then I can have like something else to talk about. But either way, we're going to jump right in to this video. So anyway, we're going to generate a Pokemon. I did record it just so that, like, you know, I would be like, oh, I generated a Pokemon and got my favorite Pokemon. Either way, no, I'm going to generate and show you what Pokemon I get. So let's show you right now. We're going to generate a Pokemon. So we're going to get a Druddigon. Very interesting. Use Druddigon a little bit in RU, not too much, but I'm going to be back when I have my analysis ready. Alright, so if we take a look at Druddigon, a lot of things stand out. It has a vast move pool, a great attack stat, natural bulk, and it does have low speed, but there is a thing that we'll go over later that helps out with that. 3 great abilities, a nice typing, pure dragon, only weak to ice, dragon, fairy, and I think that's it. Dragon's always been a nice typing, even with fairies introduced. It's still been a nice typing. Get it, nice, ice. I'm making too many bad puns. I don't even know if that was a pun. Either way, Druddigon is a great RU Pokemon. It is a big threat. As I said, vast move pool. It gets access to Fire Punch to deal with the Steel types it have trouble with. It gets access to Gunk Shot to deal with Fairy types. Speaking of Fairy types, you may be wondering why Diancie is right here. We'll go over that later. For right now, though, it also gets Iron Head to deal with Fairy types, and also gives more reliable, dealings with Diancie, which has become a lot more popular in RU. It gets access to Stealth Rocks, which also allows it to be more of a support Pokemon and access its bulk a little better. It has access to Pursuit Trap people. It has access to Dragon Claw, of course. Well, there's probably a dragon that doesn't get Dragon Claw, but it's nice, 100% accurate stab, doesn't have any additional effect. It's just Dragon Claw. And it allows you to, deal stab damage to opponents. Also has access to Glare, which allows you to paralyze your opponent. That's really nice to have. It has a lot of move options, which allows your opponent not really to know what you're gonna bring. It also has Dragon Tail, which allows it to it's like a whirlwind, but it isn't accurate. Well, it is accurate, but it doesn't have the max accuracy, not 100% accurate, and kind of acts like whirlwind, but it allows you to get chip damage off to kind of get any switch or get out any Pokemon that may be a threat. And it's definitely got a lot of, he has a lot of moves to work with. So it allows him to be very versatile and not really, your opponents don't know what to expect when they see a Druddigon. A lot of people like to run Stealth Rocks, but it's not necessarily always going to have Stealth Rocks. So back to what I was saying about the Fairy typing. Now, there are 4 fairies in RU. And as you can see from his stats, 77 HP, great. That's pretty decent. Not great, but it's something you can work with. 90 in both defenses, allows for a lot of natural bulk. It allows him to 216 without any investment, which is really nice. I don't know why he has 0 EVs in attack. We're going to change that. With no investment in his attack, he has 276. A lot of people like to run a lot of attack, or at least a little bit, because, well, he doesn't have speed to invest into it, so it doesn't really have to be a fast, speedy sweeper, unless you're running Trick Room, in which you probably want to lower your speed. 276 speed. At max adamant nature, or just a attack raising nature, 372. That's pretty great. 120 is a great base. It's a great base. And, max HP is 350. Anything over 350 is fine for me. So, either way, as I was saying, speed stat, 132. Now, 132 is not good at all. 58 speed is not great. Now, there are, as I said, 4 fairy types in RU. There's Aromatisse, 29 base speed, outspeeds it. There's Diancie, 50 base speed. That's the one problem, but we'll come back to Diancie. Granbull, 45 speed, can outspeed it. And finally, Togetic, 40 base speed. Not really going to have to worry about Togetic as much, more as a wall than as a kind of offensive presence. But it's always nice to kind of worry. But, you can outspeed Togetic as well. And as I said, it has access to both Gunk Shot and Iron Head, which can deal with the fairy types in the tier. Gunk Shot is more powerful. May not be as accurate, but it's definitely more powerful. I would probably recommend running Gunk Shot over Iron Head just for the more power. Allows it to kind of have a lot of leeway when it comes to, defensive spreads. But, Iron Head's always nice to have for those pesky Diancies out there. Now, as you can see, Diancie has base 50 speed. And that goes to 136. Now, with 16 speed EVs, you will be able to outspeed Diancie. But I would recommend going 20 just for the fact that some Diancies like to run just those extra 4 EVs into speed allows it to kind of speed tie or outspeed, Druddigons or, other potential, base 50 mons. I'm not sure there are too many other base 50. Actually, if I control base 50, there's Electros, which might be a bit of a problem, but, nothing too major. You got Registeel, which could be a big issue just because a lot of them like to run Iron Head, especially if they're a curse set. That could be a big problem for Diancie, but this isn't about Diancie. Anyway, just saying, they like to run 4 EVs in speed, which allows you to be able to speed tie with a 4 EV Diancie. Or just barely outspeed it. So, it's always nice to run a little bit extra, even though, just because there might be some Diancies, and because, if they're not speed invested, you get to outspeed them guaranteed, unless, they're running Trick Room Team. Which is another point I'd like to bring up. With that low speed, a Trick Room with Druddigon works really well. Now, not as well as, say, Toxic Spikes, Toxic Spikes, Hex, Trick Room, Coffergregus, I don't know. I don't think that's a set, though. But it works really well because of that low speed stat. So it allows him to utilize, it allows him to utilize his low speed with Trick Room. But Trick Room isn't that reliable. And, there's no point in boosting it to higher. There's no way of boosting it to, 8 turns of Trick Room instead of, kind of like Light Screen and, Screens and Sandstorm and, sand and weather conditions and stuff like that. But, I wouldn't really recommend Trick Room, but if you're running, Gimmicky Team or, you're in League format, it's always nice to think about. So, as I was saying, 3 great abilities. Rough Skin, Sheer Force, Mold Breaker. Not too many people run Mold Breaker, but with, Pokemon like Electros running around in the tier, it does have access to Earthquake, which allows him to hit, Levitate users. There is Uxie, so it allows you to hit Earthquakes more freely than you usually would. It wouldn't be as useful as an NU because there are quite a few Levitate users in NU, Miss Magius and, Weezing, which is Earthquake's actually super effective in. But, there is a few NU Pokemon that you see in this tier, so, you might see a few here and there. I wouldn't recommend running Earthquake too much since, Fire Punch deals with, Steel types, and it also deals with Pokemon like Escavalier, that flawless thing if you don't have Fire Punch, which I would probably recommend Fire Punch over Earthquake. But, Earthquake's always nice to have, especially if you're playing in, like, League format where you know what your Pokemon's team is and your opponent's team is, and, you can kind of say which one's better. If they have an Escavalier, probably best if you have Fire Punch. There are quite a few Bug Steel types nowadays, so, it's always nice to have that, staff. Rough Skin, it goes really well with Rocky Helmet. If you see Fortress and Garchomps, bulky Garchomps and Fortress running around, you probably know that Rocky Helmet is very popular with Rough Skin, which it works. It works as a defensive wall. And, Rough Skin also works well with Assault Vest because you can kind of cover on both sides of the spectrum. You don't have to invest too much in special defense, but you can also have a bit of defense so that you can, kind of be on par with the Assault Vest that you ran. And, you're also taking Rough Skin damage from the defense, and you're taking less from, Assault Vest. So they really don't know, like, do I attack on the special spectrum? Because if I do, then he's going to take less damage. But if I go in the defensive spectrum, he'll take more damage, but at the cost of Rough Skin. Another item that he works well with is Leftovers, because as I said, did I say earlier, he doesn't have access to reliable recovery. So Leftovers kind of helps with that. It is a little bit of a flaw with running Tank Druddigon. He can't heal himself up like other tanks that can outclass him. But Druddigon is a tank that is really viable because of its great offense. And also its great support moves, as I said, like Lair and Stealth Rocks, which allow it to utilize that well. As I said, also gets access. I didn't say this, but it has access to the priority that I was talking about. And the reason it can utilize its low speed, it has Sucker Punch. Not as reliable as, say, like Mach Punch, and there's no Dragon priority, but it's pretty good priority. It's one of the strongest priority out there, so Sucker Punch is always nice to have. It is require a bit of predicting, so if you're not quite as skilled in predicting, I'm not that great at predicting. I tend to over-predict a lot of times, but there are quite a lot of people. You just got to know your opponent's play style. If you don't, then you have to try to learn it. Because Sucker Punch, it can always be useful, and if you don't always get Sucker Punch, I wouldn't run. There is a set with Choice Band. Actually, I have Smoke on open right here. There is Choice Band, but if you run Sucker Punch, which is highly requested since it has low speed, so it can't really utilize that well. And, it's always nice if you're, like, your opponent's low HP, but they may be able to take you out. I would just go for the Sucker Punch, just in case. It also helps to deal with, Pokemon that you wouldn't normally be able to outspeed, things like that. It's definitely really nice to have, and Druddigon, it makes Druddigon very threatening, or even more threatening than it already is. We can also go into the fact that it has Sheer Force, which is also a great ability to have, especially if you're running offensive Druddigon with Life Orb, which is much better in my opinion than Choice Band, because Choice Band, it's nice to have, but if you're locked into Sucker Punch, that can be a big problem. But Life Orb is also an issue because you're losing 10% of your health every single time, and at the price, you don't get reliable recovery, so you can't really get that back. So it's kind of like you're at a timer, essentially. It's like it's like a burn. And you can't get that back unless you have, like, Wish support, which, you can run Aromatisse Wish support, which is, nice to have. So that's actually a really good Pokemon you can work with is, Wish support Aromatisse. I've done it before in RU. If you want to, recover Druddigon's usage or elongate its usage, then it's always nice. And, Sheer Force doesn't work well with Dragon Claw, so not really boosting its stab as much. If it did, I think it might be in UU. I think it should be in BL2, in my opinion, just because of how versatile this Pokemon is. But yeah, it can utilize some moves, such as, like, Gunk Shot to deal even harder damage. But, Iron Head, that's even, like, a better option because it's boosted by Sheer Force and allows it to deal with fairies even better than it could before. And, it also has access, like, Fire Punch is going to be doing more. Earthquake is not, so, just another option. I'm not going to sit here and go over every single move that it can utilize Sheer Force in. It's just a good ability, And we can see that with Pokemon like Nidoqueen and Nidoking. Not in RU, but, you know, good example of a good Sheer Force user. Also Darmanitan. A lot of Sheer Force users in UU. As they said, I already explained Mold Breaker means Levitate. It's nice to have, especially with Elite draws. You know, as I said, Druddigon, it's a big force to be reckoned with in the RU tier. Really nice Pokemon, you know, great. As I said, great attack, has low speed, but it does have the priority to back it up. But it did, the last point I want to mention is, it may have low speed, but RU is it is probably the slowest tier. I mean, let's just look at this. I mean, I would probably consider base 80 like the base 100 of OU. I mean, look how many slow Pokemon we have. Yeah, you got like Pokemon like Cincino and Delphox, and you know, Aerodactyl and Selgor and Ambipom, and Pokemon like that have high speeds. There are a few standout, but overall, I mean, yeah, Dugtrio, but then there's like 5 Pokemon and then a fast Pokemon. I mean, yeah, there's like, you know, as we can see here. Well, let's just do a quick. We have Absol. 2 fast Pokemon, 1, and then another fast Pokemon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Fast Pokemon, 1, 2, Delphox, 1. That's Drapion's one of the faster Pokemon. But, you know, you got so many slow Pokemon. 58 doesn't seem too bad. It's probably like base 70 of the tier. I mean, you got so many base 40 and base 30 Pokemon. And it does also speed high with Tangrowth, which is why I forgot to write this down, but that's why Gunk Shot's much more preferred over Iron Head, because it does allow for a better answer to Tangrowth other than Fire Punch, which, as you can see, I mean, we can do the calcs right now. Actually, let's just do the calc right here now. If we have a Tangrowth, let's just say, even if he's, defensive, and then Druddigon, even if it's offensive, we'll say, attacker. Offensive, Gunk Shot's going to be doing, that's going to be doing 3/4 to, 9/10 of his health. And that's if he's adamant max attack. And if he doesn't have any investment, I think he has a chance to kill. Yeah, it has a slim chance, being more only, about the chance to crit to kill. So, with that logic, you can just crit and kill with Fire Punch. Or be close to killing. But either way, no investment. But most people tend to run a lot of investment in special defense. So even that, and that's a crit Fire Punch. Yeah, it's gonna do a little over half. And that's with a good roll. It's a guaranteed 3-hit. And if he has leftovers, then it's not even going to kill. Not even going to 2-hit. So, why people prefer run Gunk Shot isn't as accurate, but it does get the job done. Tangrowth is a really popular Pokemon in RU. So, definitely a Pokemon to watch out for. And another reason to run more investment so that you can outspeed Tangrowth and Yanceys. So, definitely a Pokemon to watch out for in the RU tier. Druddigon is a very versatile Pokemon, and I'd highly recommend you run it. Your opponent's probably not going to know there are some Pokemon like Mega Man Electric, which you can pretty much just lay on the spot. These are the 4 moves it's going to have. This is the set it's running. Unless you're in a league format, Pokemon like Mega Man Electric are pretty commonly, you know what they're going to run. But, Druddigon, even in, laddering, you're not going to know what this thing's going to have. Unless, it's someone copies down a Smogon set, in which you probably do know what they're going to have. If you see the Life Orb, they might be the Smogon set. I think it's, broken item. I don't know. I think, yeah, just broken. But, yeah, Druddigon, force to be reckoned with. Do not mess around with this thing, because it doesn't get any setup moves, but it doesn't need any to be a force to be reckoned with. But we are going to go over the single-player aspects of Druddigon, and let me tell you, even its single-player aspects are pretty good. Now, if we go on Cerebi, we have Druddigon, and as we can see, look at its moveset. It gets Dragon Claw at level 27. You may be saying, well, it only is access in X and Y, it's probably better in Black and White. You're right. We're going to go over black and white. X and Y, it's a really great Pokemon. I mean, yes, you have to get it pretty late in the game. And at that point, you might have a better Pokemon than Druddigon. But 120 base attack, I mean, let's just look at the Dragon types. I mean, there's Haxorus. Yes, actually, Haxorus is probably a better option than Druddigon, but it is a lot rarer. Actually, is it? I don't even know. But, you know, Axew, if we look at Axew, I mean, its abilities are a lot less fluid. I mean, you got that 50-50 chance of rivalry versus Mold Breaker. And you also have a slow level up rate. I mean, you also are leveling up really slow, while Druddigon is leveling up medium fast, which is really fast. I mean, compared, you have to gain 250,000 more experience than Druddigon will. That's essentially a fourth of what Druddigon gains. So, like, that's, I don't know. It's more spread out, but it's still really tedious to train that up. When Druddigon, Victory Road, I mean, you're getting it really late in game, but it's also going to be pretty high level. So, you know, actually, if we go on Poke-Earth right now, on Poke-Earth, I should say, because there's an accent mark. Either way, if this will load, we can go to Victory Road, and we can see what Druddigon's percent ratio, what its percentage is. But yeah, as I said, gets a lot of great level moves. It gets Dragon Claw, as I said, level 27. Which allows it to, you know, I don't know what's going on, but it allows it to deal high damage early game, which is really, really nice. And, of course, right when it loads, I was going to go back to it. But, you know, Druddigon, 20% chance. That is not that hard to find. But if we go to, say, Connecting Cave, which is where, I believe, Axew is found, and, of course, Cerebi, not working. Anyway, I think it's like 5% chance. It's not very common. You're not going to find it very easily. Of course, you know, if you want to complete the Pokedex, you're going to have to find it. But, you know, do you want to really spend like 20 minutes trying to find it when you can find a Druddigon in like 3 seconds? Sure, you get lucky. You know, if you get lucky, then you might find an Axew early on. And I would recommend using an Axew. It's a good Pokemon. Problem is, it takes forever to level up because the fact that it's a semi-pseudo-legendary. So it's going to take a little while. It's kind of like Kingdra. It's like, I mean, really? But yeah, so I don't know why everything's taking so long to load on Cerebi. It's kind of being annoying. But either way, it definitely... Druddigon, even in single player, it's still a great one to utilize well. I mean, it can be utilized really well in single player. And as I said, yes, it does suffer a little bit in black and white. Well, I didn't say that, but it does suffer a little bit in black and white because of the fact that the 7th gym is ice type and you find it right next to the 7th gym or I think it's in the route above it. Definitely does hinder it a little bit, but I mean, what can you do? It's powerful enough. The ice types in that room in that gym are so frail. I mean, yeah, Beartick. I don't think that Pokemon's going to be taking many hits from this thing. Especially, I think it gets fighting type coverage too. If we go to Cerebi, yeah. So if we look at Druddigon, it gets Revenge at level 35. So I mean, it gets fighting type coverage to deal with those pesky ice types. So it's even then, and look, I mean, its level up moveset is great too. I mean, just look at it. So it's going to be pretty. Like, even the frail ice types cannot deal with Druddigon. Yes, they're probably going to be able to outspeed it, but with that great bulk, it's going to take hits. And need I mention that the 8th gym leader is Dragon type, and it's a Dragon type? Yes, it's going to be taking super effective damage too, but Dragon Claw is going to be doing lots of damage because, well, it's a stab, 80 power move. And, you know, with Rough Skin, you're going to be doing... I mean, a lot of them are physical, most of them. They probably have special moves because they're stupid, but, you know, by that I mean the trainers in the gym. But yeah, so, Druddigon, great in single player and multiplayer. Overall, is a great Pokemon, and yes, you may be saying, well, Aryu's not that good. I mean, it can probably hold its own. I mean, it holds its own in UU, too, which is why I think it should be in BL2. But, you know, Aryu's had so many Pokemon taken away from it. I don't think they need much more. But, you know, they are a pretty big tier. So, you know, but all of them are pretty big. So, either way, I mean, Druddigon, I was not aware of this thing's potential before making this video. And it just goes to show, I mean, this kind of thing, it teaches me something, and it teaches you guys something. Well, hopefully it teaches you something. Or, you know, like, maybe you didn't know that Druddigon was 5'3". That's not that big. But, you know, it's a Druddigon, so what did you expect? I mean, maybe if it was like 6'3", that would have been more believable. Its shiny form may look kind of weird, but, you know, it weighs 306.4 pounds and 139 kilograms. How can you really, like, blame it for, come on. And its Japanese name is Krimgan. I think, yeah, Krimgan. That's pretty good. It may not have the best design in your opinion. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but I'm fine with it. Actually, if you look, it's Generation 5 and Generation 6 is kind of just, like, better colors, I guess. Then, I don't know. Look pretty similar. Anyway, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see all of you in the next video. See ya later. Bye.